Okay, back in the past I used to get these liners and we used to take them out bush. We'd knock them out, you know, the screwdriver down the side and fit them, and we didn't pull the blocks out if it was in a backhoe or anything like that. So I've just been playing with this liner and I've cleaned them all down, taken any burrs and nicks and all that sort of thing off. So I'll just try and bump one in like we used to do. I would prefer to just pull them in with the threaded rod and things like that. So we need to make sure we've got plenty of oil. What sort of oil doesn't matter. Now I'm going to start on the one that was tight. I've taken all the nicks and burrs and that out, and I've got a little dolly here some bloody where there, and I'm just going to try and bump him in like we used to one time. Let's just see how we go with it, eh? I might break it, but it doesn't matter. Now that's a good hit, good kill. Now we've got to make sure that's either level or just below the centre, the top, and I think that's okay where it is. I'll just give it another bit of a it just feels a 15th high there to me. I'll go and get the other dolly. I know this one sits down in the bore. Okay, that's better. Yep, lovely. Now that was the hard one. I spent quite a bit of time with sandpaper down in there, making sure that, if you remember when we pulled it apart, there was a heap of rust came out in there, and so I made sure there was no rust left. So I wanted to do that one first. So I felt that if a lining was going to blow, putting it in, it would have blown there. Okay, my card got full on the camera and I'm banging away, buddy, having a great time, didn't realise. But look, before you try and put a liner in here, make sure that this groove up here, I run around with an O-ring pick, and if I can get any rubbish out of it at all with an O-ring pick, it's not clean enough. Like that there needs a bit of a razzle dazzle. So run a bit of brake clean around, have a good old scratch and make sure there's just nothing in there at all. Then I like to clean the groove with a piece of rag. And you can see next door I've dropped a couple of liners in. I put the hard one in first, then this fella here. Now they're barely level with the top. I don't think it, I think it might be a thou under over here. I will test that later. But I did get the liners. What did I do with that liner? Probably still in the ute. I did get the liner and sit them in here upside down first and just run around and have a bit of a feel. So I'll go and find that liner and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, the shed's getting a little bit noisy. So look, I'm just wiping this bore out. Make sure it's clean. Now, I did have a little piece of emery paper here. There it is. And any any tiny little marks, burrs, nicks, if the puller's marked it or anything like that, has to be gotten rid of. So we run a heap of oil down there. This is just leftover oil from servicing Judy's car. I think it's 530, something like that. She's got a little Yaris, so there's always a little bit left in the pot. So we'll let that oil run down. Now that's the new liner, that's the one I've had up the shed buggering around with. So what I like to do is, this is brake cleaner. That actually cools the whole liner down as well. Make sure there's nothing in that, under that top groove. Now, lots of oil. And we slide the liner in. Now it just starts, that's all we need. Now, you'll see after the first few hits it sort of lines itself up a little bit. Now I have seen pulling them in, I've seen people pull them in crooked and get them way out of whack. I've seen them pressed in crooked. Thumping them in, look, they line themselves up, it does a good job. With the pullers or the press, when you start pulling it in, you have to let it up all the time and just make sure that you're still coming in. So I'll just keep going with this. Okay, that gets tight towards the end. You'll notice I use a big hammer. You'll pick on me for me using me big hammers, but that's okay. So just to make sure the liner goes down below the bore. That's it, beautiful. So that's dropping the liners in. I'll just bring the camera up a little bit now. So that's dropping the liners in. Now, you could have got 2 plates and brought it in with a bit of threaded bar. You could have put it in the press. I've got a 50-ton press here. We could have pressed them in with the press. Back years ago, I was talking to a bloke the other day and we were just reminiscing, and back years ago, we'd go and fit these liners, say a JCB backhoe or something like that, bug it up, or a tractor out bush, and they didn't want to transport it to town. We'd go out 60, 70 kilometres from the main dealership. We'd take all the gear with us. We'd split the tractor enough to get the sump off, head off. We'd peel the liners, like on the 35, on the 135 series I did, peel the liners down and collapse them in the bore. We'd wrap the crank up, sandpaper them all, get them as nice as we possibly could, and then we'd do that. That's all. We used to, I didn't have a hand, we used to just have big bits of plate and we'd just bang on the plate and bring them all down. And even the liners without a flange on them, we did some of them, and you'd bring them down, and I can remember draw filing across the top of the bloody blocks trying to get this protrusion right over the time. But look, that's what you did when you were doing field service out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, there's better ways to do it probably. You can freeze them. I find the brake cleaner, no, it's all up to temperature now. The brake cleaner, something like that, does cool it down. These are only little engines. They're not great big bangers. So I've seen people pack them with dry ice to get them in. Heat the blocks up with an oxy, heat the whole block up and chill the liner in the fridge, put dry ice in the liners to get them in. There's many ways of doing it. That's just something that works. This here. Now, if you're tempted to run a cylinder hone down the liners to clean them up, just make it nice and easy. Look, certainly nice and quick if you wanted to do that. Don't do it. The tolerance in here is very fine. So just take any, I usually rub it by hand with a bit of sandpaper, and I don't have it like a honed bore. I have it so there's no humps and hollers, and you can still see between my sanding runs the actual proper size of the bore, even though you've got little scratches where you've cleaned a bit of rust or cleaned something up. This number 3, which was the rusty one, I fitted that one first. That was the first one you saw. I wanted to fit that first in case we were going to have trouble doing this setup, because I knew that was the rusty, the tight one, but I did put quite a bit of time in hand sanding. I had a little bit of 220 sandpaper, and I just used inox and CRC and scrubbed it around and did it. So look, that's how on this engine we're dropping the liners in. It's worked, it's fine. I'll still make a puller plate and things like that, just because we can, we've got the stuff to do it. And that, doing what I've just done is put a slight burr on our liner puller, for pulling them out. So what will happen now, this will be put in the lathe. Any burrs I've put on here will be taken off. We've got the bigger bearings and the bigger bar to put through here now, so we need to machine it. And I'll bring the parting tool in just down over that edge, and that'll get rid of any burr and give us a nice edge. And I'll grease him up, put him back, and that'll be ready for the next time. I don't know when the next time will be. I've got a few 35s up the back there and things. Never say never in my shed. You never know what's coming on. So look, that's going to be it for popping the liners in. It wasn't much of a rigmarole. I was getting around to making plates to put under the block and all that, but I thought, I'm trying to work in between showers. It's raining, and I thought I'll just bang a couple in, and if it was going to go well, that's all I was going to do. If it was going to turn to crap, well, I'd go up and I'd lathe all the bits up and I'd do it differently. So, but anyway, look, that worked for us today. That may work for you, it may not. That's how we chose to do this one. So there you go. Let's move on to something else more interesting, eh?